I'm joined now by the Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Brian. Glad to be with you.
So we've just witnessed two high-profile killings now in Minneapolis. This is Renee Good and Alex Preddy. We've also seen that the Department of Homeland Security seems hell-bent on making sure that state investigators don't get access to any of the evidence, any of the crime scenes, and on and on. How confident are you, or can you offer some commitment here that state investigators will in fact be able to investigate what's gone on despite the best efforts of DHS to prevent that?
We will do every single thing we can, and we are doing every single thing we can to do a full, complete investigation. And that includes going to court last Saturday and yesterday to get a court order to preserve, protect, and prohibit from alteration any evidence secured at the Preddy crime scene. We're also moving out, and I can't go into detail, Brian, but I can tell you that we are moving to obtain more evidence in the possession of the federal government, and that they have no legitimate basis to state that they're not investigating the death of Renee Good and then refuse us access to the evidence. There's no legitimate position that could justify that behavior. That speaks to cover up. And in the United States, when somebody is killed, use of force death investigation, it's normal, natural, and regular for there to be a joint investigation and for the federal government at the Department of Justice, Civil Rights to do the investigation along with state authorities. They've refused to do that. Todd Blanche has said there will be no investigation. So how now can they say they're going to deny us access to that information? So I can assure you there is nothing that can deter us from getting to the bottom of this and getting to the truth.
You know, there were a number of officials in the Department of Justice at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota who left the job in the aftermath of DHS's refusal to investigate Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who killed Renee Good. Is there any cooperation with these folks who are now out of the DOJ? Is there any effort to bring them into to the BCA or into, you know, any state office that's investigating this so that they can still use some of the knowledge that they have, and obviously these are folks who were looking to take a righteous enough stand that they weren't willing to sit back while the DOJ was engaged in a cover-up. So clearly they have some willingness to want to do good work. They just weren't going to be able to do it at the DOJ.
Well, let me tell you, I mean, these are all very talented people. I mean, to even work at the DOJ, you know, generally we expect that folks who are there, it's a pretty prestigious place to work. And so there's a lot of talent there. Whether or not they'll be integrated into what their next move is, I can't tell you right now. I can tell you that when Trump started, there was an exodus then, and we ended up hiring 4 people from Department of Justice, and we're very pleased that they're with us right now. I've counted a number, about as many as 10 people who have quit in connection with the failure to act responsibly in the Renee Good matter. Where these people land, I don't know, but I can tell you they're gifted, talented, and you and I can see they got some integrity.
In terms of the ability for state investigators to continue with a potential prosecution, even though they're not getting any access to any evidence, I mean, if you were to bring any information to a grand jury in the state of Minnesota, the bar, if I'm not mistaken, is for to secure a grand jury indictment is probable cause. Is that correct?
That is right.
I mean, you've already got that with the public videos that are available. So even if DHS isn't giving you access to any of the evidence at the crime scene, I mean, we've seen publicly available videos that are certainly exceed that threshold. And so is there going to still be an effort, even with the evidence that we have publicly available, to secure, to move forward with investigations and possible prosecutions, given what we've got access to already?
Well, Brian, I wouldn't agree that a videotape makes for a prosecution. I mean, I prosecuted the people who killed George Floyd, and I knew, based on my 36 years of being a lawyer, that you couldn't just push play and win. It doesn't work like that. And if you're not a lawyer and you haven't never tried a case, you may not quite understand all the tricks that the defense counsel can pull, and they're not tricks, they're due process, okay? But I would say I would not agree that it's just some easy thing, easily done, push play button, you win. That's not true. And so I get a little nervous when I hear people say that, because it's like, oh, your job is nothing and you don't really this is enormously difficult work to do. And it's and if you really want to, if you want to just not do more than just get an indictment or a charge, and you actually want to convict somebody, you got to give us the room to work. And saying that, oh, this is easy, this is nothing, just use the video. We're going to use the video. And I also want to correct one other thing, which is that we do have evidence other than, I mean, it's not like we don't have any evidence.
Yeah.
We have a whole portal that the Hennepin County Attorney is open, and that the Attorney General is open, and we are getting critical evidence from the public every day. And the BCA is cataloging and documenting and storing evidence all the time. And we may yet get the cooperation from the feds that we need. We don't know. We're not going to foreclose the possibility. But what I wanted to say is that, one, this is not easy. Two, it is worth doing right the first time. Three, however happy you feel when there's an indictment or a charge, if we get there, and as a prosecutor, I have to put it like that, okay? You will be much happier if we convict the person.
Yeah.
And so let's stay in the long game. I'm telling you, from the moment that George Floyd was killed till the time that we got the conviction was not an overnight thing.
Yeah.
But I think everybody in retrospect would say it was worth getting it right. So what I'm saying is that when it comes to Pretty and Good, no one has ever accused me of being afraid or reluctant to pursue justice. And I'm absolutely going to do that. And I'm going to do it with the partnership of the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, Mary Moriarty, and with the help of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. And I hope with the help one day of people in the FBI, should they change course.
Have you had conversations with Kristi Noem or Pam Bondi or anybody in the DOJ or DHS or ICE?
No.
Since this is taking place, since they've kind of stonewalled you?
Well, let me tell you, one time I talked to JD Vance one time. I've called Pam Bondi twice and didn't get a call back. And I've called the local U.S. attorney appointed by Trump and have received no return call. So that's about it.
Do you think that the Trump administration right now is engaged in a cover-up to protect their ICE officers who they've already publicly pre-cleared?
I would say that is a very reasonable conclusion to come to when you see the president, the vice president, and Kristi Noem all saying, oh, these victims of shooting deaths, right? These victims, that they were the domestic terrorists, that they are and exonerating the people who shot and killed them. I think that is, and then when you do that, you say you're not going to investigate the Renee Good matter, and then you preclude the state from having access to certain items of evidence, not all, certain items of it. They've precluded us from any evidence they have, but that doesn't mean they've precluded us from all the evidence. So yeah, I think that amounts to a cover-up. And if they don't like me saying cover-up, prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Open up the file, and let's have a joint investigation.
I've spoken to folks who have raised the prospect of the public officials right now who are, pre-clearing these ICE agents, who are coming out and offering bogus justifications for this shooting, saying that the victims here were domestic terrorists, that they were charging these ICE officers, that they were brandishing weapons, all of the lies that we've seen thus far. I've heard folks say that accessory after the fact is a possibility because these people are publicly, not only verbally pre-clearing all of the perpetrators of these crimes, but refusing investigations, even though they have the ability to do so. Can you speak on the prospect of, once these people are out of office, the prospect of accessory after the fact for the people at the top of the DOJ, at the top of the Trump administration, who are engaged in this process of obfuscating the facts?
Well, let me just say this. I've charged that charge in the state of Minnesota before. And I will say that anyone who has obstructed or assisted a person who committed a felony offense uh, should stand and face judgment for what they did. Now, in this particular matter, it's just not right for a prosecutor to say, "I'm going to charge that person."
Right.
So I'm not going to do that. But what I will say is that the conduct is concerning to me as just a citizen of Minnesota in the United States, and nobody should think that their crimes are going to simply be forgotten later. Now, one thing I would not do and would never do, and I think is disgusting and loathsome, is to use the criminal justice system to get after a political opponent. But when somebody breaks the law and it's clear, I think they should be held accountable for accessory after the fact or whatever it is.
Greg Bovino had come out yesterday and spoke about the fact that they're not releasing any information about the ICE agent who committed the crime of killing Alex Preddy.
Imagine that.
And basically likened it to doxing, which of course, these are public officials. I remember a world where we can actually see these people's faces. And of course, that world is long gone. But can I have your reaction to this idea that any effort to allow people to know who this public official was is tantamount to doxing?
That is horse crap. It's just a lie.
Yeah.
I mean, look, police officers, state troopers, National Guardsmen, all types of law enforcement, sheriff's deputies, they walk around with not just their face uncovered, but badge numbers and nameplates.
Right.
And on the side of their vehicles, what department they're from. Now, why do they do that? It's an important part of what we call procedural justice. You're more likely to comply with law enforcement if you consider law enforcement legitimate. So I may not think I was speeding, and officer, you may think I was, but because I know who you are, I see your face, I see the insignia on your car, and you've written me this ticket, I had the prerogative of showing up and telling the judge, well, I don't think I really was speeding. But I'm not going to run from the officer or anything like that, because I know that this is normal. This is the processes of the state. I'm not, this is how justice is done. This is how public safety is achieved. And so when you don't want to do that, you're suspect, straight up. When you don't want to say what your name is, where you're from, the agency, when you don't want to show your face, you're trying to hide something. What are you trying to hide? Well, in case of Operation Metro Surge and all the behavior of these ICE and border agents, illegal conduct. Yeah. Everything from misdemeanors to arguably homicide-related charges. And so that's what this masking is. This masking is the tactic of authoritarianism. The masking is 180 degrees away from legitimate constitutional law enforcement. And you can't get a law enforcement officer on this show who is trained and is professional and has gone through the rigor of doing constitutional policing to say that that's okay. They all will say, no, we don't do that. And so they actually, ICE and the border agents are a stain on the good name of law enforcement who tries to do a good job every day. And so that's what I have to say about it. It is deeply disturbing that they're wearing these masks and that they cover up their identity. And they're also an open invitation to kidnappers.
Right. Right. And we've seen that play out, by the way. We've seen people posing as ICE agents because now it's become the norm that these people just show up in masks without having to identify themselves. And we've become accustomed to this idea that that's how law enforcement works in the Trump administration.
Well, and then you got Kristi Noem and Bovino openly lying to the American people. I mean, just say, oh, he attacked, the Preddy attacked the agent. That's clearly not true. There's just so many things that are manifestly just ridiculously, absurdly untrue. But they say it, they must know that they're lying straight to the face of the American people. So why are they doing it? I think it is, if you go along with my lie, you're a good, loyal MAGAite. If you don't go along with my lie, you're a sympathizer for, I don't know, domestic terrorists or something. Right. You know what I mean? It is a Orwellian sort of worldview that these people are perpetuating by openly lying to us and telling us what we know isn't true. It's not just dishonesty, and it might not even be proper to call it lying, because maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something like, it's, like disinformation, a loyalty test of some kind. Yeah. I don't know. Think about it.
Last question here. How concerned are you that when we see these surges of violence, as we just saw with, the ICE killing of Renee Good and then Alex Preddy, that this is all just a pretext for Trump to be able to say, look at all this violence, we have to send more troops in, or in fact, we have to invoke the Insurrection Act here?
Right. Well, I'm very concerned about it. They provoked the violence and then justify the Insurrection Act based on that violence that they provoked. Yeah, it's really, really, really remarkable and crazy. They have no basis for the invocation of the Insurrection Act. It's not true. Local authorities, though taxed, are certainly in control. We've had, our local officers deal with protesting all the time. It's nothing new. We deal with crowd control all the time. That's nothing new. And so, so I do think it is a pretext, but I think there's another pretext going on here. And I bet, Brian, you might agree with me on this one. I think that ICE is not really, really intended to deal with immigration enforcement. I think their job is bigger than that. I think they are a paramilitary force who operates at the behest of one person. And it ain't Greg Brovino. It is Donald J. Trump. Unlike local police, who are loyal and connected to local communities, who have chiefs and sheriffs and deputies that they have to answer to, who are subject to processes, these ICE agents, masked, of course, they're like a Praetorian guard. They're like a paramilitary Praetorian that the president can deploy anywhere he wants on anybody he wants. And so our civil lawsuit against Kristi Noem and ICE that we argued on Monday morning of the 26th of January, basically, this whole thing says, we're saying that, look, under the 10th Amendment, we're a sovereign state. We don't have to do the business of the federal government. They can't commandeer the resources of our state. And so what the federal government under Trump seems to be saying, oh, yeah, you say that you don't have to do what we say? Well, what if we go from 80 ICE agents to 4,000 and we raise hell in your state? Do you think you might want to comply with us then? And my thought, Brian, is that, if Trump couldn't do it with a executive order, how could he do it with 4,000 masked armed men? It's really remarkable. If we believe in state sovereignty and dual sovereignty with the state and the federal government, and the federal government through Congress or the state through the Congress or the president cannot issue an executive order or a law that commandeers the resources of our state, how can they do it by flooding our state with armed men? Yeah. It's literally at the barrel of a gun that they're trying to get things that they could never get through a courtroom. Yep. So we stand against it, and we're going to fight. And I hope it's okay to tell you that, man, I really admire you and your show. Well, you're doing a good job out here. Man, you're so good at this law stuff that I thought you were a lawyer. And you're still a young man. You might want to go to law school, brother, because you could probably help a lot of people doing that too.
Well, we'll leave it there. Attorney General Keith Ellison, thank you so much for the time. Thanks for the fight you're waging here. I appreciate it.